Excuse me, Sebastian. What are you doing? We're just about to start our Thursday review.
Just was checking out your new app.
Oh yeah. What do you say? How do you like it?
I like it.
Okay, that's a comment too. I'll take that as a feedback. All right, we'll talk about that later. Welcome, underwater filmmakers, to another episode of reviewing your underwater films. Welcome to you too.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have your full attention now at the task at hand. Even though I have to say I can't really be too mad at you for checking out the new mobile app that I've created that gives you access to all the online courses that I've created and the freebies, even in, now it comes, the offline viewing mode. So you can even learn how to film underwater and improve those skills while sitting on an airplane, flying to your next dive destination.
Pretty cool. So
it's not pretty cool, that's freaking cool, if you're asking me.
Pretty awesome then.
Yeah, well, we'll put the link down to the app in the video description below. Just a little self-promotion here, guys. If you want to go and check it out, feel free to do so. Putting this aside and changing to our topic of today, whose film are we reviewing?
We're reviewing the film of Rodrigo Echeverri.
Oh, a familiar name, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's his second submission to the channel.
By the way, he's a member of our underwater filmmaking YouTube membership plan.
He is.
That's also why we are prioritizing the submission of his.
Yes. May I?
You may. Sorry. Yeah, feel free.
And his entry today, or his submission actually for today, is actually pretty special because we haven't had something like that on the channel before. It is a 12-minute short documentary about
Annie Lau.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I couldn't read my own notes.
I got very good eyesight.
Very good, actually. Thanks that you could read my notes. Yeah, we haven't had that on the channel, so I'm really curious to figure that out and see what Rodrigo did. He did it again with his Sony A7S Mark III. Yeah. Oh my God.
It feels like last week.
Yeah, it does. Right. It does. Coming back to it. And Rodrigo told us he already submitted the film to some film festivals. So good luck for that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and I think we just should
start
watching it.
Yeah. By the way, we're not going to be showing you the entire 12 minutes here now on the channel, but as always, we'll link it down in the video description below. So if you want to watch the full 12-minute mini documentary of Rodrigo, you can watch it there. Here we'll just show you a couple of pieces, and then we'll get back with our feedback to the documentary. All right?
All right, let's go to the Philippines.
Let's do this.
Annie Lau is a protected marine sanctuary in the island of Luzon, approximately 100 kilometers south of Manila. Its status as a marine sanctuary makes it an environment rich in thriving corals and biodiversity. Annie Lau often features among the top 3 places in the world for muck diving, which focuses on finding small and bizarre creatures in the sand and coral formations. There are over 50 dive sites in the area for muck divers to choose from, ranging from shallow to deep dives with varying currents. Annie Lau is home to an incredible diversity of nudibranchs with hundreds of species. Divers can also encounter a variety of fascinating crustaceans, including colorful shrimp, crabs, and lobsters. Cephalopods, such as octopuses, cuttlefish, and squid, many of which can be photographed on the seabed or on blackwater dives that Anilao has become famous for globally. The coconut octopus, also known as the veined octopus, is an interesting cephalopod found in the tropical waters of the western Pacific Ocean. This octopus is named for its unique behavior of using discarded open coconuts as portable hiding places. The coconut octopus can use tools, an ability once thought limited to humans and a few other primates. This species of octopus is also known for its inquisitive and playful personality and has been observed engaging in frisky behavior with divers. In this dive at the Anilao Pier, we encountered two individuals, one of which was shy and just wanted to hide in the sand, while the other one loved posing with his shell in front of the camera. The starry night octopus, also known as the starry dwarf octopus, is a small species found in the tropical waters of the Indo-Pacific. They use their 8 arms to walk along the seafloor, searching for small crustaceans and other invertebrates to feed on. When they spot prey, they use their arms to surround and trap it before delivering a deadly bite with their beak-like jaws. Frogfish are a member of the anglerfish family. They are known for their unique appearance, resembling a small, colorful blob with fins. Frogfish can change their color and texture to blend in with their surroundings, making them expert ambush predators. They use a rod-like appendage on their head, the elysium, as bait to lure an unsuspecting fish. Any fish unfortunate to fall for this trick is then quickly sucked up into the frogfish's large mouth. Frogfish also have a unique way of swimming, using their fins to walk along the seafloor instead of propelling themselves through the water. Jawfishes are small fish that construct burrows in sandy substrate for protection and feeding. Using the protection of these burrows, these fish will hover, feeding on plankton or other small organisms, ready to dart back in at the first sign of danger. Jawfishes are territorial and defend their burrow area aggressively. Most are mouth brooders, with eggs hatching inside the mouths of the parents. Goby fish are a diverse and fascinating group of fish. They are characterized by their elongated and often brightly colored bodies and their ability to make home in a variety of different artifacts. The one seen here has chosen a beer bottle as home for his family, which he guards jealously. Despite their diversity, many species of gobies are threatened by habitat loss, overfishing, and pollution. Gobies are excellent diggers and can excavate complex burrows in the sand or coral rubble. They often share these burrows with shrimp, who act as housekeepers. Despite being blind, the shrimp have a keen sense of smell and can detect predators approaching the burrow and can warn the goby using their antennae. On the other hand, the goby guards the entrance to the burrow and lets the shrimp know when it is safe to come out with his piles of rubble. In exchange for all their work and effort, the shrimp receive protection and a place to live. These parks are diligently maintained by committees of local villagers who actively enforce fishing restrictions and prohibit anchoring within the protected zones. Dive tourism has also played a role in preserving the reefs, as fishing boats have transformed into diving vessels. While finding a balance between short-term gains and long-term sustainability remains a challenge, the villagers of Anilao have showcased their dedication to proper stewardship. By demonstrating that responsible management can ensure both sufficient food resources and the economic benefits of dive tourism, they serve as an inspiring example. Anilao offers the best of both worlds. A destination where conservation and local communities thrive in harmony, making it a truly exceptional place to experience. Let's hope it remains that way for generations to come.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for this submission. Have you ever been to Anilao?
No, I haven't.
Me neither, but I want to go now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This looked like a hell of a dive destination.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it means to film such a documentary in terms of of dives needed and amount of work you put in there.
Yeah, a lot. A lot. I've tried doing this in the past on several occasions myself, and I can tell from personal experience that this is a completely different story than just being somewhere on a 2-week vacation, on a dive vacation, filming on all of your dives and then putting a highlight video of your dives together. Because here, when you're trying to make a documentary, you got to be so much more deliberate on what you're filming, and you got to make sure that you collect enough footage of all of the stuff that you want to talk about in that documentary. It's not enough to grab, like 2 shots of an octopus and that's it. No, you gotta get a couple dozen shots of that octopus or these species to be able to have that as overlaying footage while your narrator is talking about that species and the behavior and all that sort of stuff. And that's really the challenging part, having enough clips of not an individual but an individual species to be able to have some time to talk about it and share some information about it. And Rodrigo, kudos for doing this and for going that way, and very, very well done on that mini documentary. I think what you wanted to achieve was achieved, because I really want to go now to Anilao and dive there. You've shown the diversity of the place there. You've shown with all of your drone footage, you've shown not just the underwater world, but also what it looks like from above, sort of like a 300-degree view of that destination. And it seemed like a very complete and rounded up documentary that I've really enjoyed watching. But it is important to know that and respect how much work has been put in there. I do acknowledge and see that, Rodrigo, and I'm very impressed. So thank you very much for submitting this and sharing it with the community here, because I think a lot of people will be able to get a lot out of seeing such a mini documentary. Shall I keep on or?
Keep on, yeah, go.
Okay, let me just see what I've written down here that we can start talking about. Let's start right at the beginning. I personally found that the very beginning of the documentary of your film was a little abrupt. I felt like I hadn't even settled onto my comfy seat properly, and it had already started. I would have wished, you know, maybe a fade in, or like only like a second or two of, okay, it's starting now, before the music starts and everything gets going. So it was a little abrupt for me right there at the beginning, but then you caught me with that really nice graphic that came up with critters. Did you say critters? Creatures of Anilao. Creatures of Anilao. That was really cool. And from there you had me. As soon as that graphic came up, I was caught in the middle of the film, of the documentary, and I was there. Your macro work is incredible.
Definitely.
We don't really know whether or not you've used a tripod, because it doesn't say anything about that in your gear list at the end. If you didn't, even better. Oh, even more respect to you. If you did, well, absolutely right to do so, because the shots that you were showing us, some of those, they were just rock stable, and even the ones that had some movement in there, I think you managed to keep them as steady as possible, and that worked quite well. Also, considering this is a documentary, it's not a cinematic film, a little more movement and a little more shakiness, I think, is also acceptable, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah, I would.
Of course, to a certain degree, but I think it's more because you're trying to capture a specific behavior of an animal, and I think it is acceptable to have a little more movement with your camera there as well.
Yeah.
So that was really great. I really enjoyed pretty much all of your macro shots. I think there was some shots that were outstanding, and the majority of your shots were really, really well executed. What I found, and this is something that might need a little more work in the future there, is that the focus, there was a few shots where you had some focus problems, and the focus was shifting or wasn't in the right spot. And I guess that you were using autofocus for most of the time, which I can understand. It can be really difficult filming these tiny creatures. I don't know whether you were using an external monitor or how you were monitoring the image, but it can be really difficult seeing where the focus is, and especially if you're doing this manually, it can be very demanding. But personally, I think it is the way to go, especially capturing or filming small critters, where you have other stuff that passes in between your lens and your main object that might catch the focus and make the focus shift. It is probably the safer way to go onto the manual mode for the focus, but it requires quite a bit of practice being able to follow with the focus, track it.
If you practice and you're fluent with the focus, you get more. It's more reliable. Did you nail the focus?
Well, because you're deciding where the focus should be, right? And not leaving it up to an algorithm in the camera. Yeah. But I totally understand why you would want to go with the autofocus. But yeah, there was a couple of shots there, and maybe that's something that you can work on in the future, trying to, just get a bit of practice with manual focus and seeing if that works better for you. Or maybe you can also adjust the settings of the autofocus in your camera, because the A7S III certainly has different settings for the autofocus, how quickly it changes and so on. So maybe you can experiment a little with that, seeing which gives you the best possible results. Yeah.
Sorry?
Please, I feel like I've been talking for a while.
Oh yeah, you did. But
like always.
It's always. I just want to go in more or less try to be in chronological order. I do agree as well with the start. I find it a little bit too abrupt to get into the documentary. What I like better, and I think we had this in the last video with Rodrigo, is the logo. Was now definitely smaller in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
There was a second one which gave it a nice how you say?
Symmetry?
Symmetry, yeah. A nice symmetry. The other one, small, subtle. very nice. The only thing I think which disturbed me a little bit is that after a while, the Philippines logo was faded out. So if you want to, or you need to fade out the one of the logos or the logos in general, I just would go the other way around, put them bigger at the beginning, like prominent in the picture, and then fade them out and leave them out of the documentary. Because it's a documentary, I think it would be okay. You put it at the beginning and then leave them out. But
it's different
that's
approach.
Personal,
yeah.
What I actually was missing for a kind of documentary style is, well, depending on the people watching it. So because like I think there are not enough or not good enough wide angle scenes for that. But to get settled in, to get an overview what is happening, or to show people watching documentary what it looks like, 1 or 2 medium shots or wide angle shots, that would have been nice. It's just like depends. I think every diver knows that Anilao is for mug diving, so they wouldn't expect it. But if anybody else is watching it, it's like give them overview how does it really look.
True, there wasn't any wide angle shots in the entire.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I did
12 minutes. So
I can't remember. I can't remember any like memorable wide angle shots, at least. Yeah. Okay.
But again, that's some more work in an already intensive capturing workload. The other thing I noted down is, especially in the documentary, the color matching. So you're talking about animal behavior, and you're talking most probably about the same creature. So as a viewer, I start to I would say, I build a relationship to the creature, and okay, this is the one. There was one octopus, I think the coconut octopus, he was filming at the beginning.
Let's call him Jeff.
Jeff. Okay, so I'm the viewer. I see Jeff. No, just kidding. I see the creature, and then I'm switching from night to day or from day to night. And I think there it's harder to match the colors, but I think it's important because we're talking about the same creature in the same context about animal behavior, that this two shots should match. Even if it's night and day. In a documentary, I think they should match. Or it should be very clear that is like a nocturnal animal. This is night behavior. This is the day behavior.
Maybe with a like a what do you call it? Maybe with a fade out, fade in transition or something like that.
So just to make
it
clear. But then when jumping from night to day in the same behavior, it stand out. It wasn't the same.
Understand? Yeah. Okay.
And what as well I wrote down is the shallow depth of field in a documentary style. Nothing wrong about these shots. I mean, you have, as Matthias said, I loved your macro shots and your close-up shots, but I think for a documentary style, it was too shallow. It's more like I have in my head the one scene where how's it called? I wrote it down. The Starry Night octopus. This reddish one.
Oh, the star or something, yeah.
It would be nice to see the whole creature going for a hunt, crawling over the coral, but the focus I think was only on the eye, and everything else was very blurry around it. It's a nice shot, but for a documentary, I would expect
or maybe
more close aperture,
or maybe an additional shot.
Or that,
the entire
like
creature,
that,
something like that.
Yep.
I understand. Yep, cool. That makes sense. Another thing that I've written down that I want to mention here is a little discrepancy between the what the narrator was talking about and what we as viewers were seeing. And it happened in a few scenes that the narrator was explaining a specific behavior of the animal, and the way that he was explaining it and the way that the music was kind of building up tension in the background as well, it felt, for me, I felt like, oh, okay, now we're going to be seeing that behavior, and then it didn't happen. And please don't get me wrong there, Rodrigo. I know how difficult it is to capture and film all these different behaviors, especially considering, I guess, that you didn't spend half a year in Anilao, but just a couple of weeks. So it's very natural that you couldn't film all these behaviors. But as a viewer, it felt like, well, where is that catch? When you were talking, for example, about that octopus hunting and catching something and the music in the background building up, and I was like, oh, cool, we're going to see an octopus catching something now, and then it just went on to the next species. I don't know. How can you solve such an issue?
Yeah, I think it's the combination of stuff. It's like the narrator is telling you about something happening, and his how you say, his tonation of the phrase is more like, okay, he's getting excited, or he's telling me something, it's coming. The music is building up. The music is sometimes getting a little bit louder, but as well tense. So I'm raising the expectations of the viewer. Maybe another option would be just to flatten the expectations. Is don't raise the music volume wise, or get it more
even.
More even. And keep the narrator in a more even as well tonation. Because if I'm talking, I'm very excited something's happening, I expect something happening. If I'm talking normal about it, it's okay if it's not happening, because I'm only describing the behavior.
Yeah. It's a very fine line, but I think you're right. I think that does make a big difference in the way a viewer perceives the information that is being told. So, yeah. So that's maybe something that might be improved there, so that you don't raise expectations that then cannot be shown in the video footage.
Yeah, and I think as well, again, we're talking about documentary, we're talking about 12 minutes of film. I think it's hard or harder to keep a consistent mix between voice, sound effects, and music. But I think it's very important to keep that consistency throughout the entire documentary, because it's like we are not watching a highlight film or something. We want to build up tension, like for 10 seconds, and it's coming, and then we flooding out film is over. It's like we have 12 minutes.
Cool. What else? Have you got something else on there?
I got one thing, and this is just, again, a personal thing. I like the shot of the goby. They're very creative. Like, well, I guess it was creative. It was putting a light behind the bottle.
Oh, you mean the one backlit?
Yeah, backlit.
The backlit one. Yeah.
I love the shot. It's a really cool, really nice shot. I just think in a documentary, it does not fit that kind of creative stuff, because it's not like the natural surrounding and the natural behavior. It's like you put something artificial in there. But
good point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just personal taste. It just stood out, because I think it was the only element where something creative was used to light up the scene or something.
At least something that was so obvious.
Obvious, pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's true. I really enjoyed that shot. I think it was a really cool shot.
Cool,
but I understand what you're saying.
I
understand what you're saying, and that makes absolute sense. Okay, cool.
That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, I've got all of my points ticked off as well. So let me quickly sum up what we concluded here after watching your mini documentary, Rodrigo. I really kudos to you for trying new formats here and going the way of mini documentaries, and we wish you all the luck in the world with that mini documentary on the film festivals that you're submitting it to. It's great that you are trying these things, and thank you also for allowing us to show it here on the channel. So maybe some more of us will get into the documentary field sometime in the near future. As we said, we love the majority of your macro shots. Some of them are just outstanding. The majority is really, really good. And I also enjoyed the choice of the music. I think that you've picked good music. The sound mixing, that could be probably improved, but the music itself, I really enjoyed the choice that you made there. What can you work on for your next documentary? As we said earlier on, I think that the focus is a bit of an issue in some of the shots, and I would put a focus on the focus techniques for future documentaries. Maybe try playing around a little bit with manual focus and seeing if you can get used to that and what works best for you. And then what Sebastian was explaining just before with the narrator and the footage that we're seeing, that you might just pay a little more attention to how the narrator tells or conveys the information and how much the music plays part in setting expectations as to the imagery that you're able to show, because you were able to capture them or not. So just pay a little more attention to that maybe in a future documentary that you're creating. But please keep making these documentaries and all the other content that you make, because it is a pleasure to watch your content, Rodrigo.
Definitely.
So again, thank you so much for submitting. As always, the video and Rodrigo's channel will be linked down in the video description below, so you guys can go and check out the rest of his work if you wish so. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you want your video to be featured here and reviewed on our channel within this series,
write us an email to contact@matthiaslebo.com. Put the link to your video in the email and put some more information about your video, where it was filmed, what kind of camera you used, if you were using video lights or not, special stuff.
that kind of
Put
stuff.
it in to get us a little overview on your film.
Yeah, excellent. And we still have a fair bit of a queue in the line there, about 9 months of waiting time for the reviews here, but there is a way of skipping that line, like Rodrigo did by becoming a member of the Underwater filmmaker channel membership. What a term. But it's quite easy to do that by clicking the button down below the video which says become a member. Go through the onboarding process and you're in there, and your next submission will be prioritized. Thank you so much for your support if you're deciding on helping us out with your subscription there. That's pretty much all for today. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, because there's going to be a lot of cool content coming out in the near future. Until next week, guys, have a fantastic time. Keep capturing your awesome underwater adventures, and the two of us will see you
Next to it.
It's Thursday. See you next week, guys.